Greetings, salutations, and welcome to After Action. I'm your host, Patrick Kreeger, and I'm joined once again by Chris.
What was the clap for?
I've done that every time, Chris.
Really?
Yes.
How have I never noticed that?
It's so that I can level my audio, and it's also so that I have a clean starting point and all that jazz.
I don't know where I've been. My whole world's been turned upside down.
Yeah. It gives me, like a couple of seconds of dead air that I can use to, edit sound out and all that jazz. So
now everybody's gonna have to listen to this.
So actually, that's one of the things that I've never actually said on After Action. Actually. Sorry, that was like the fourth time I said that sentence. These are supposed to be people just joining us for a conversation. It's like that you just came up and sat down at the table with us and, got to be in a circle of friends talking about a movie. A circle of two.
Circle of two.
Well, and three, you, dear listener, as I motion to an empty chair. So...
It's where you're sitting, to my right, at this table.
So we watched more of James Bond.
We sure did.
We're now 3 films in, and this film was GoldFinger.
Yeah.
So, watch, don't watch.
Watch.
I would agree.
You have to watch it because so many of the Bond tropes are set up, come from this movie.
Yeah.
Dr. No, because it was the first one, has some of those. Just the idea. It was more thematic for Dr. No rather than specific details, I feel like. The things with because Ken Abrams was the production designer for Dr. No, and so he set up the whole bad guys lair in a high-tech volcano type thing and all this stuff, and he actually wasn't involved in From Russia with Love, but came back to the franchise for GoldFinger. So this is also GoldFinger had a different director from the first two. So this is this is where you start getting more of the tropey Bond kind of stuff. And GoldFinger's weird because it's I don't know, I feel like a lot of GoldFinger is really iconic, but honestly, I can't remember ever really watching that one much. I've seen it before, I know that, but I've seen Dr. No several times. Same with From Russia with Love. Same with the next one in the series, Thunderball, and it just seems like GoldFinger is just sort of this. I could tell you every part of GoldFinger start to finish, and I could tell you, the important parts and why they're important, but I can't remember ever really, sitting down and watching it, or, going back and rewatching it. Or, if I'm gonna sit down and watch a Bond film, I don't say, let's watch GoldFinger.
Yeah. I do have to say, I can't imagine, of the 3 we've seen so far, the one I would first put on is probably Dr. No. Still.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the best one of the ones we've watched so far. But, there's so many callbacks later on in the Bond series specifically to GoldFinger. Literally, exact details, and, exact scenes in later Bond films come from GoldFinger. And I don't know, it's just, it's one of the iconic Bond films that you have to see, but I don't know, can't really articulate why. It just is.
I think you said this the first podcast, or the first in this series of Bond films. Every one of these is going to be watch, and right. I think you're right so far based on what I know about Bond.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
They just are. Yeah, GoldFinger's interesting because GoldFinger's when the production really started to take off. GoldFinger had the budget of both Dr. No and From Russia with Love combined.
Yeah, it had 3, didn't it?
Yeah, they raised it another $1 million.
Yeah,
from 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3. Yeah, just had a lot of good characters in it. I mean, just like everyone's always heard, the name Pussy Galore. This is where she comes from.
And I always assumed she was from Octopussy, which I could not believe was actually the name of a film.
Right, we're gonna get there. That's about 8 more films for us.
Alrighty. I feel like I should read the description, just real quick.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
We do that on this podcast, don't we?
In this 14 karat adventure, and the 3rd film in the 007 series. Oh man, I missed an opportunity to say the 007 series, but well. James Bond is pitted against one of his most memorable villains, a power-hungry and infamous international gold smuggler. Alaric, right? Alaric? Yeah. GoldFinger. GoldFinger is not planning to rob Fort Knox. He intends to detonate a nuclear device on the fortress and contaminate the world's gold supply with radiation, making it unusable for hundreds of years. Though they actually say like 58.
They say 58.
Yeah. And increasing by tenfold the value of his own gold holdings, making him the richest and most powerful man on Earth. Now, they actually don't say that it would make him the richest and most powerful man on Earth.
No, they say that it would increase the value of his gold holdings 10 times.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. They never actually tell you, like, how much money he is worth.
Yeah.
And also there's a scene where they specifically say 58 years. Or Bond says 57 years, and then Goldfinger says 58 years, by my calculations, or something like that. I like that. Whoever wrote this description clearly didn't watch the movie.
No. No, they didn't.
Yeah,
I'm
anyway.
just checking something real quick here. I'm curious about this. Okay, so if Goldfinger had successfully detonated his nuke, theoretically, the gold would be usable again in 4 years. Now, exactly how much gold has left Fort Knox in the previous 54 years?
All of it.
Well, okay, depending on the theories out there. But according to the official records of the U.S. government and what they tell the public, none of the gold has left Fort Knox. So, I don't know. It's just funny that,
Doesn't matter because we're not on the gold standard anymore, so all that gold's pretty much useless.
I don't know. I'm still living in the good old days, you know? Back when
you and just you. Well, the rest of us are in the 21st century where money is electronic.
Yeah, I don't trust those funny number machines.
Well, you shouldn't. Anyway.
So
welcome to Chris's tinfoil hat hour. Bet you didn't know you were getting into that.
Okay, this is way off topic from Goldfinger, but I just feel I need to say it. I met a man who wore a tinfoil hat. But his wife complained about it, so he sewed tinfoil into his hat that he wore in public. He was convinced that the cell phones were killing the pigeons. So what were they doing to him? I mean, seriously, have you seen a pigeon in a major metropolitan area in the last 10 years? No, you haven't.
Yes, I have. I saw one today. I live in a major metropolitan area.
I love that. And I'll go into detail on another podcast about that, but yeah, tinfoil hats wearing people are a thing.
Anyway, back to James Bond. Goldfinger came out in 1964, 1 year after From Russia with Love, which came out in 63.
That's a pretty quick turnaround.
Which was 1 year after Dr. No in 62.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pumping these out.
Yeah, they sure were. It shows.
James Bond 54 is coming out next week.
Well, here's the thing, is like that a lot of the early Bond films were all filmed at the same studio, so they just like could just keep filming, even though it's like it says a lot of this movie a significant portion of this movie takes place in Miami Beach. None of the principal actors in the scene were actually in Miami. There were scenes that were filmed in Miami, but none of the actual, like, named actors were there.
Is that explain the green screen effect we see in a couple shots?
Probably. Yeah, I mean, all the car chase kind of things. Except
No, I meant at the pool where they look up at the hotel and you see people walking around like Bond and stuff.
Oh,
like
no,
that's green screen.
Yeah. Because Sean Connery wasn't actually in Miami.
Where were they shooting, out of curiosity?
Pinewood Studios. That's a really famous English studio. It's in
well, the point is it's not in Miami.
Yeah, it's not in Miami.
Nor is it in Switzerland, presumably.
No, it's in England.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you a city. I just know it's in England.
That's fine. That's fine.
But yeah, so that, like a lot of B-roll stuff. And then, like, the car chase when the CIA guys are following Odd Job.
Yeah.
Like, to and from the... what's it called?
Like the wrecking
junkyard, the wrecking yard, whatever. That was also filmed in Miami.
That makes sense.
But other than that, yeah, they only filmed in the United States for 5 days. So
okay, and it shows.
Yeah, but yeah, all the rest of it was filmed pretty much in studio. So that's why the green screeny effect. Although, I mean,
it was pretty good.
Yeah, and also like a lot of this. I mean, a lot of the action scenes, just because it's the 60s, like we've seen this in Dr. No and in From Russia with Love, like anytime where there's like a close-up on a character in an action scene, i.e. a car chase, everything is green screened behind them or around them or whatever.
Yeah, but this time it looked a hell of a lot better than it did.
This car chase was incredible.
Yeah. Both of the car chases, the first one with the Mustang,
right,
wasn't bad either.
Right. Yeah, it still looked pretty cool. But they introduced the Aston Martin DB5, which is like the classic Bond car in this film.
Do you want to kind of try to do this in order?
Nah.
No?
We've done that for the other two.
Okay. Well,
I kid.
Seagull on the head.
Yeah. Which is completely unrelated to the movie. Okay, so the movie starts with another cold opening, like we got in From Russia with Love. And it's... Yeah. Welcome to my world.
Well, I guess me, welcome to your world.
Yeah, it's Bond in... They don't really tell you where, but presumably like a Latin American country, because there's a lot of like Hispanic people around.
I almost want to say they said it was Jamaica, but that could be...
No, I don't think they say where it is, but it's definitely like Latin America somewhere, because like the music that's playing and stuff. Anyway, so the camera pans down onto a dock of some kind, and a really obvious fake seagull is floating on the water, and then Bond pops his head up, and it turns out he was wearing this fake seagull on his head while he was swimming underwater.
Why?
Why? I couldn't tell you.
So
it's an amazing scene.
I'm gonna do some headcanon here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say that the dead seagull thing was a snorkel, and that Bond was snorkeling up as to not create bubbles. That's my headcanon.
I feel like you're giving this movie way too much credit.
I think you're right as well.
It's just a silly scene. So he is infiltrating some type of facility, and then he plants
a bomb in someone's house.
C4 in like some facility on some gas tanks, and
they're nitro tanks in someone's house.
Right.
That's in some facility.
Right.
Why? Who? How?
They don't really say.
There's a throwaway line about it, but...
The Wikipedia article says that he's destroying a drug laboratory.
I think they do mention that.
Do they? Okay.
They say that will put a That'll put a kink in such and such drug operations.
Oh, well, whatever.
Oh, they say heroin flavored or cocaine flavored bananas.
Sure. I wasn't paying attention.
They mentioned that phrase.
I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to look up the film's budget in the first 30 seconds of the film. Fair enough. I wasn't really paying attention.
The budget looked huge.
Point is, then Bond goes back to this place that he's staying in, apparently, and or maybe not, or something. They don't really explain it. This whole cold open has nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
This is true, but I do want to point out the white tuxedo with the carnation.
Oh, yeah. So he takes off his scuba and or snorkeling suit and is wearing an immaculate white suit with the red carnation. That did not get wet at all from his journey underwater.
Or sweaty from his issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, white tux, red carnation.
What happens then is he's told not to go back to his hotel room. And he goes, that's okay, and pulls out a key, implying that he has a key to someone else's hotel room.
Yeah, he does say something about unfinished business. And there's a very obvious scene of the sexy Latina girl stalking off. And then he opens the door into the room that she's bathing in.
Yeah.
And then...
soapy shoulder.
Yeah, he tries to make the sex at her because that's what Bond does. And then he sees the reflection of...
An attacker.
You don't see who it is. Or you don't know who it is.
No.
Whom you were introduced to later in the film. All you see is his intimidating silhouette in this scene. After he knocks Bond out.
Oh. I was thinking of when he sees the silhouette of the attacker.
Oh, well, okay, so those are two different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was starting to get confused. Because the eye silhouette, and then he turns the woman around to be a heat shield.
Right, yeah.
And then ends up, killing the first guy and says something like...
Yeah, so the guy falls in the tub and he throws a lamp of some kind. A heater in there.
That was shocking.
And then he says it twice.
That was the most shocking part about it.
That he said the bad pun twice. Yeah, he goes, shocking, and then he looks down at the girl who is sort of conscious and says shocking again.
He needed her
to know the joke. God. So then he goes back to his room apparently, and you don't know it's Odd Job, but it's Odd Job. Sneaks up and karate chops him at the base of the neck, and he passes out. Pretty terrible acting.
Happens.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
Where do we go from there?
Wait, we skipped the whole scene.
Yeah, I was going to say.
This is after he meets Jill Masterson. Okay, so
because I was going to say he ends up going to Miami.
Yeah, I messed up. We skipped the whole scene where he goes to Miami. So, he goes to Miami.
Yeah.
M sends him to Miami on vacation. Vacation. Yeah, in
air
quotation marks. There's some flirting with Moneypenny.
Oh, and
classic.
We get the third time Bond throws his hat on the hat rack.
Yeah, and then Moneypenny does it too.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I messed up. Moneypenny does it. Yeah. He doesn't. But it's the third hat rack hat trick, as he would say, a hat trick, in the Bond movies. I don't think this continues.
We'll see.
Okay, we'll see.
We'll see, dear listener.
We'll keep you apprised of James Bond's hat situation.
Yeah. So he goes to Miami. Felix Leiter shows up. Mm-hmm. Our favorite CIA agent. Friend of Bond. And it's sort of implied that they've had more interactions since Dr. No.
Indeed. And then they're now friends.
Right, yeah, they know each other pretty well.
Also, what was the girl's name at the pool?
Dink.
Okay.
Yeah, her name is Dink. And that scene is possibly the most condescending scene we've seen yet in a Bond film, which is saying something because it's the 60s and they're pretty Don Draper Mad Men-esque condescending, but this one is unbelievable because Bond is getting a massage from Dink.
You're in good hands.
Buxom young blonde lady when Felix Leiter shows up. And he says, Dink, say hello to Felix. And she says hello. And he says, Felix, say hello to Dink. And Felix says hello. And then he says, Dink, say goodbye to Felix. And she's like, has this look of surprise on her face. Like, what? You're sending me away? And she doesn't move, and then he physically turns her, grabs her by the shoulders, turns her around, and goes man talk, and slaps her on the ass to send her on her way.
This is a scene that happens. This is our hero.
Yeah. Our hero, James Bond. Mm-hmm. The man that every man wants to be and every woman wants to be with.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So... Felix says there's a thing coming from M to check out this guy, GoldFinger, who is happens to be staying at the same hotel that Bond is currently at, talking with Felix. Tells him who he is. Bond, he sits down to start playing Gin Rummy.
Yeah.
Great game. With some person who... It's established he's won a lot of money from.
Yeah.
And they think he's cheating.
Right.
So Bond just sort of like walks past him, looks around, and I didn't notice anything particular about why he went to Goldfinger's room.
I think he just went.
He just went? Yeah, okay. He was like, he's definitely like looking around, and I wasn't sure if there was a scene where he like...
sees a flash.
Or something like that.
There might be, but I didn't notice either.
I didn't notice it. Anyway, so he, Bond accosts a maid.
I was hoping you'd mention that.
Yeah. I'm gonna mention it every time Bond accosts a woman.
He just grabs her hand with the key in it.
Yeah,
and then
puts it in the lock while like still holding her.
Yeah,
and then turns it, and she's like, she says, "This is Mr. Goldfinger's room." He says, "I know," and then he says something to her like, "You're very pretty," or something like that, or "You're
have a beautiful day," or something like that. It was a condescending.
Another little condescending jibe.
And she just takes
it. She just takes it. So then Bond goes immediately to the balcony.
Yep.
Doesn't look around the room at all.
No, he does look around, but then
really.
Yeah, he sees the woman out on the balcony. And he needs to go have sex with her.
Bond can never resist a woman on a balcony.
No.
So he goes out, and there's Shirley Eaton, gorgeous, laying on a lounge chair, scantily clad, talking into a radio that you are clearly shown that Goldfinger has in his ear. And she's got binoculars fixed on his opponent's hand, and she's telling him, what the hands are and stuff. So Bond surprises her by molesting her, basically, and turns the radio off, and then he flirts with her for a little bit, and then he turns the radio back on and starts messing with Goldfinger.
Yep.
And just tells him to lose. He's like, you have to lose all the money to this guy that he already lost to you. And then he, without bothering to make sure that Goldfinger goes through with this, he just turns the radio off and has sex with... Her name is Jill Masterson.
Yep.
It's the character's name. He just has sex with her.
Yeah.
Because...
It's Bond.
Bond.
He bonds with people.
God. You said that to me yesterday, and I was pretty mad about it.
Yeah, I said, hey, want to come bond tonight?
Ugh. Ugh. Anyway,
Well, James Bond can't be the only one playing with puns here.
Sure. He does that quite a lot in this movie.
Wait, is that why Archer does it all the time?
Yeah, Archer is James Bond. All of Archer is just a James Bond parody.
I mean, I knew that, but I assumed that there was a little bits of his own character in there.
No, It's pretty much just James Bond.
All right.
Yeah. Archer actually even has a couple scenes where he's wearing the white tux with the red carnation.
Red carnation. Which is referenced in everyone's favorite film, The Last Jedi.
Is it?
Yes. But it's actually referencing Indiana Jones.
Which referenced this,
Yeah.
so, okay.
I was hoping to lead people to Indiana Jones.
Oh, yeah, when they go to the casino place and the
Canto
guy,
Bight,
and he has the white, yeah, you're right.
By the way, we'll do an after action about that someday.
Ugh. I'd rather not. Anyway, that's when he's attacked by Oddjob.
Yes.
And then when he wakes up, he goes into the bedroom and finds that Jill Masterson has been painted in gold and died from what affliction?
God, skin suffocation?
Correct. Skin suffocation.
Now, for those of you who haven't seen this film yet, you're probably familiar with the image that you're probably looking at right now of a young woman covered in gold. Now, I had always assumed that this woman was either strangled, shot, poisoned, some such, and then painted gold. Or the James Bond people were just going to throw all reality out the window and have her be dipped in gold. And that's what kills her, but yet somehow she stays perfect. I don't know. Sure. Whatever. They even go through the trouble of explaining, it happens to burlesque dancers, I think he said. Something like that,
yeah.
But if you leave a patch of skin at the base of the spine, it's fine.
Yeah. As if the skin at the base of the spine is significantly more porous than any other inch of your skin.
I know the Mythbusters did a thing on this. Just so you know, they did. And they said the best evidence that this is fake is they did indeed just paint that girl gold. There you go.
Right. Like the actress, they painted her gold and she didn't die.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't actually say how she... I mean, presumably, like, Oddjob knocked her out and then painted her because she wouldn't just sit there and let them paint her.
And then let her...
and then just suffocate, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's painted in gold. This is one of the scenes I was talking about at the beginning that's called back later in Bond films. It's one of the Daniel Craig films that this scene is called back to, but they use oil instead of...
but that made more sense.
Right. That made a lot of sense.
Because they drown her in it.
Right.
So that's...
But she's just like... But the fact is she's on... You get the visual of Bond coming back in the room and she's on the bed covered in it. And that's kind of the point. Yeah. So then Bond goes back to M and they have dinner, black tie dinner with some guy. Then they're talking about gold prices across the world and a bunch of really boring stuff. And point is, you find out that they think that this GoldFinger guy is smuggling gold and they don't know how he's doing it, so they're saying, send in Bond. And then they play golf.
Yes. Is that before or after he goes and meets Q?
This is...
So I thought Q was immediately after the...
Yeah, you're right.
Because they show him the Nazi gold.
Right.
And they say at that point...
Yeah, this is definitely after he goes to meet Q.
Yeah. James Bond just, like, money-grubbingly grabs the gold bar.
Right.
And they're like, no, you'll get that at Q Branch. At which point, we see Q Branch for the first time.
Yeah, the actual branch, yeah.
Yeah.
Q himself, Desmond Llewellyn, was introduced in From Russia with Love. But yeah, the actual, like, laboratory Q Branch, this is the first time you see it.
Yeah, and there's some interesting things we see. Bulletproof jackets, gases of sorts. And then Q berates him for not bringing stuff back in good shape. Why? I mean, that...
Because it costs money.
I mean, yes, but...
Q spends a lot of time in research and development. He doesn't appreciate his products being lost.
Yes, but I mean, you know, that happens.
That's what Bond says.
Yeah.
He pretty much says that exact line.
There's wear and tear in the field.
Right. But yeah, so they introduced the Aston Martin DB5.
Yep.
In Q Ranch with all the goodies, the switching license plates, which they never actually use in this film.
No, and they
use it in other
Bentley.
films. Yeah.
They mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the switching license plates, the ejector seat.
Yep. The smoke screen.
Side machine guns, which they don't use.
He does use it.
Oh, yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, to shoot later.
Right. The oil slick thing.
Smoke machines.
Yeah, the bulletproof glass.
Yeah, and a bullet shield.
And a bullet shield, yes.
They implied that, and I thought that was an interesting thing. That they would have both bulletproof glass and a bullet shield. It did come in handy?
I guess.
Well,
anyway, then he goes to play golf with Goldfinger. And,
yes, he does.
Let me say this, as a huge sports fan and avid golfer myself, this might be the best filmed sporting event in history.
Okay. Elaborate. Defend yourself, Chris.
If you've ever watched a sports movie, the worst part about them is the sports.
I mean, I've seen Space Jam.
Because all of these people are actors, not athletes. They're not actually playing the sports. But here's the thing. Sean Connery is...
Scottish.
Yeah. They invented the game, right? It's the 60s. Not unreasonable to assume that Sean Connery knows how to play golf and is pretty good at it. And honestly, like, there might be a few, like, cuts here and there where it's not Sean Connery playing. They might have had, like, a stunt actor or somebody who can actually swing a golf club. But there is definitely one particular scene where it is definitely Sean Connery swinging a golf club, and his swing looks great. Like, there's some pretty okay golf being played in the scene, and this is, like, really impressive to me.
But we talked about the rules and how...
Yeah, they do make up some pretty weird rules. And that's one of those rules is, like, how Bond actually, like, tricks Goldfinger into... So they're betting on each hole, and then Bond shows him the Nazi gold.
It just drops it.
Just drops it on the green. And then they start... He's like, 5,000... for your, or like, let's bet for your gold bar. I've got the money to cover it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Bond tricks him into losing because...
Well, he cheated.
Well, yeah, he cheats in the first place.
Yeah.
But then Bond switches his ball.
Yep.
And says, you didn't use the right ball. You forfeit. Blah, blah, blah.
Match.
That's it. That's the whole scene.
Yeah, we're playing by the strict rules.
The strict rules of golf. As opposed to the lax rules of golf. Which is what me and my buddies play by. The rules of golf that say whoever drinks the most beer wins, not whoever has the lowest score wins.
Let's bring up two things at this point. One, it's established that Oddjob has ridiculously strong hands.
Oh yeah, you're introduced officially to Oddjob.
Yes, actually, why don't we talk
name.
about Oddjob's thing that he does?
The hat throwing?
Yeah.
Or just, like, generally being Oddjob?
Yeah, he is one odd job.
Yeah, he sure is.
Thank you.
God.
So, we'll talk about Oddjob in a moment, but I want to bring up the concept of James Bond wins, right? Goldfinger does the honorable thing and writes a check. And gives it to Bond. It is mildly implied, in my own headcanon, that Bond just keeps that.
It's literally not mentioned for the rest of the film.
Yes, I paid attention for that fact. No, I just think Bond counts that as a tip.
Yeah. He just kept the $5,000.
Yeah. Back when $5,000 was a ton of money, not just a lot of money.
Right.
So, yeah, they like even talk about like, you know, ooh, $30 as being so much, you know.
Here's the thing though. Okay, so Oddjob is the one who knocks Bond out in the scene before this. Does Oddjob not recognize him?
No. I think Oddjob does. Not only that, GoldFinger recognizes him. GoldFinger has a whole conversation. Ah, this isn't by chance that we meet for a second time.
Right, okay,
No.
but he didn't really, like... GoldFinger didn't, like, know that Bond was the one that was messing with him in that first scene. He couldn't possibly have. Because they hadn't met yet.
No, they didn't. He didn't know he was messing with him in the first scene. But by the end of the whole Miami connection, spoiler alert, there was indeed, he did indeed know who Bond was.
Alright, well, whatever.
So yes, this was the second time they saw him. I think it's the first time that GoldFinger officially saw him. But he knew who he was. So there's that going on.
That's what I mean. Like, he'd never seen him before.
No, but it's not entirely impossible that Oddjob like took a Polaroid, you know, picture that with a Kodak, you know. It's a thing that could happen.
Oddjob doesn't speak. Anyway.
Okay, so he didn't paint a picture with words. He
painted a girl with gold.
Oh, snap. No, I mean, he literally could have taken a picture of Bond. They know who he is by number.
Whatever. Not the point.
So, we find out that Oddjob has ridiculously strong hands because he crushes a ball.
Yeah, he crushes a golf ball with his bare hands.
Yeah, I'd imagine that's pretty difficult.
Yeah. You think?
Mm-mm.
And then...
No, it's easy peasy.
And then he throws his bowler hat and cuts off the head of a marble statue.
Yep. At which point it's revealed that the whole golf resort belongs to
GoldFinger.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do find it funny, like, that Bond, for all of his sexism, does indeed say at this point, oh, the groundswoman won't be happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that's interesting that he implies that the whole place is run by a woman.
Yeah. So then Bond follows him, or he puts the tracking device that Q had given him into
Ain't gonna bring that
his
back.
car, and follows him to Switzerland.
Yes.
Where you were shown the same hairpin turn with the little hotel, cafe, bar, restaurant thing.
Yeah.
Like... several times.
Yes.
Because they didn't want to move film locations. So they just filmed the same
I didn't even
turn.
consider that. There's literally like 4 or 5 camera shots. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my god, you're right.
They didn't move. They just moved the camera like sideways.
Yeah. Huh.
But they're driving on these roads and Bond is following the tracking device. And then you see a blonde girl in a Mustang who's honking at Bond.
You don't see her at first. There's just someone honking. And my response to this was, oh, what is it now? Some woman he's going to have sex with?
And he gave it his best shot. That is for sure.
Yeah.
So he sees her and then she like goes around him, and then you see a scene of GoldFinger and Oddjob stopping at like a fruit stand on the side of the road, which is so out of character for them.
There's just like, little Swiss children selling fruit. You know, I mean, he does have a heart of gold.
Oh, stop. That's so bad.
We didn't even talk about the Bond girl opening thing. Well, there wasn't much to say.
There's not much to say. It's just
woman painted gold dancing.
Painted gold, and yeah.
But so yes, he's buying some what look like tomatoes
or something. I don't know.
They're like big juicy red things.
Little Swiss children just on the side of this cliff face on this road, in the middle of nowhere.
I kept expecting him to kill the small children.
Yeah. And then, so Bond, so there's like 3 tiers to this road that's cut into this cliff. And so Oddjob and Goldfinger are on the lowest one. Bond is on the second one. And then you see the barrel of a rifle sneak into the camera shot from up above Bond. And a person shoots, and it almost hits Bond.
Yep.
So you're supposed to think that they're shooting at Bond.
I thought she was too.
He hides behind his car. Then Bond starts driving again, and here comes this Mustang again, honking at him and all this stuff.
Where they start having a small race and almost hit the tiny Swiss children.
Correct, yeah. They do almost hit the tiny Swiss children. And then Bond does his wheel spike thing to her car. He signals her to go around, and then when she pulls up alongside him, he spikes both of her tires and
a good chunk of her car.
Yeah, and a good chunk of her car, and makes her run off into a ditch.
Oh.
And then stops his car and goes over to and says "Are you okay?" or something. And she's like, blah blah blah, tire blew it. And then he says, "Well, can I give you a ride to the nearest garage? A woman like you shouldn't be ditched." So many good puns in this movie.
And yet they missed the best one.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We will.
Yeah, anyway. A woman like you shouldn't be ditched. So he spends the whole car ride creepily staring at her and trying to talk to her.
Knowing full well that she's the one who tried to shoot him.
Right. And then he sees her initials monogrammed on her suitcase or something.
It's quite clearly a rifle case from that era.
Right. And then he drops her off at the garage and
he talks to her about
her
name.
Her name.
And how he knew her sister.
No, not yet.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, that's not
whoops. Yet. Sorry.
That's the next time you see her.
Oh. Yeah.
And then he just leaves her at the garage place.
Yeah, she's like, I can take care of myself. It's only 24 hours. I can wait here with these creepy Swiss men.
Yeah.
There's no one there.
There's no one there. She's waiting in the middle of nowhere by herself in Switzerland. And then he just drives off. He keeps following the tracker in Goldfinger's car to Goldfinger's refinery. Yeah. And then goes and while wearing his suit, this is important, goes up on this hill up above the refinery.
Yep.
And just sits there. And then it fades to nighttime, and it's sort of the way it's filmed to me sort of implies that he just
sat
there the whole time. But then when he starts walking, he's not wearing a suit anymore. He's wearing all black.
Yep.
And has a backpack.
Yep.
He had to have gone back to his car, but they just didn't.
Nope. Bond is God in this universe.
He had the backpack hidden in his suit.
Yeah, underneath his suit was the black suit, and then underneath that is another suit.
Another suit, yeah, obviously.
James Bond can never be nude.
Right. So he sneaks in and does some looking around, hears Goldfinger talk about his Operation Grand Slam? Yeah. I was gonna say.
Well, more sports references throughout that.
Sure.
Hockey.
No.
Okay, the problem was I knew hockey was the wrong answer. Now I'm struggling for the right answer.
You don't know what the real one is, do you?
It's
baseball.
I was going to say, I hope it's baseball.
Yeah. Which is funny. It's called Operation Grand Slam. Grand Slam is when there are men on all the bases and somebody hits a home run. So you get 4 runs for that. Has nothing to do with the movie.
I'm trying to think.
Not even a little bit.
I mean, Goldfinger does have all of his ducks in a row.
Stop.
And he gets like 4 for the price of 10 for the price of 1?
No, it has nothing to... They just said Operation Grand Slam. That's what it's going to be called.
Well, it takes place in America.
That's true. It is sort of directed at more of an American audience than the first 2 were.
Also, as listeners to our podcast well know, we do often drink tea whilst we record. Today was Ricola tea, which is perfect for the Swiss themes.
Sure.
Also, Ricola tea. Da hell.
It smells gross. Anyway, then
sneaks down in.
Yeah, sneaks down in. He hears GoldFinger talking about this thing.
Wait, does he? Or does he run into the lady's sister?
No, that's second. Okay. So when he goes, but he leaves and goes back up.
Yeah.
And then he hears somebody walking through the bushes where he is. And then he, tackles her.
Yep. Which triggers the world's most obvious trip line.
Yeah. It's like the easiest trip because the barrel of her gun hits it or something like that.
Yeah. He pulls her up, and so she's already gone beyond it.
Right.
She should know it's there.
Mm-hmm. And then... she says, I wasn't trying to shoot you, I was trying to shoot him. He killed my sister. And he goes, You're Jill Masterson's sister. I had sex with her. But he didn't say that.
I was there when she died.
Right. But then, so they've tripped the alarm, and they hear all the alarms going off, so they run to Bond's car. Yep. And then you get this great car chase scene. Really, really great car chase.
With decent car explosions.
Mm-hmm.
Still, cars don't explode like that, but these looked good, you know?
Yeah, and he uses pretty much every gadget on the car. I mean, he uses the smoke screen, and he uses the oil slick.
Yep.
And they use so they get to a point where, I don't know, the road is cut off or something like that. And
there's a cliff
or something, and he puts up the bullet shield in the back, and then he tells her to run while he's hiding behind the door shooting at people. And then Oddjob gets out of a car and throws his hat at her while she's running, and she dies.
Yeah.
And that just ends the fight. It's like that scene in Troy when the Trojans attack the Greek fortifications at the beach, and Achilles doesn't want to fight, so Patroclus goes out in Achilles' armor and leads the Myrmidons into the fight, and then Patroclus and Hector get in a one-on-one battle, and everybody stops what they're doing to watch that, and then Hector kills Patroclus, and everybody just decides the fight is over for the day.
Yeah.
And just all the Greeks and Trojans just mixed together, just all right, see you tomorrow. This is kind of that scene, right? She dies, and Bond just everybody stops shooting at each other, and Bond just kind of jogs over to see if she's
still alive.
Okay, and then everybody just sort of walks nonchalantly over to capture him. Yeah. They pick up her body and take her with them. It's all very civilized.
A lot of this film is quote unquote civilized.
Right, they're very polite to they're very polite to each other.
Yeah.
Through the entire movie.
The hell?
I mean, a lot of the Bond films are that way, but Bond, especially in Dr. No, so Bond gets captured, right? And then they sit down to have this dinner with Dr. No, and you think it's supposed to be civilized, but then Bond just spends the whole time insulting him.
Yeah.
So it's not sort of this is on another level from that, where Bond is clearly just gonna be the perfect English gentleman, and Goldfinger is nothing but polite the entire movie,
which is the weirdest thing.
He gets a little pissy when he loses the golf match.
Yeah, but he still writes the check.
And he's still he's got Bond in custody, right? Oh, well, not yet. Okay, so they make Bond get back in his car with one of the henchmen and drive his car into the compound.
Yeah. At which point, the little old lady with the submachine gun lets them in.
Right. And then Bond peels off and uses the passenger ejector seat.
At which point, the guy magically turns into a dummy.
Yeah, he sure does.
Just for, a couple frames.
Yeah. And then they have another pretty good car chase inside the facility. And they trick Bond with a mirror into thinking that there's an oncoming car.
Why?
And
how?
I don't know. There's just a mirror, and they've got headlights. They trick him into thinking there's an oncoming car. That's when he uses the machine gun.
Yeah, to shoot the
car, to shoot the wall. That's why it shows that scene with him shooting wall. And then he crashes into the wall.
Yeah.
And he's unconscious.
It's like a moth.
Right.
Going straight towards those lights.
And Oddjob gets out of the car with this really like self-satisfied grin on his face. And like looks at the camera before he takes Bond out of the car. So then Bond wakes up.
Which turns out to be a very, very common scene transition in all of these Bond films.
And who does Bond see when he wakes up? Pussy galore.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah, they put him on the plane.
Yeah, but you're missing the whole laser scene.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about the laser scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
They strap him to a thing.
They strap him to a plate of gold.
A plate of gold.
Why?
I don't know, because Goldfinger's got gold.
And Goldfinger goes on this whole diatribe about how he loves gold. And I love, like, the phrase he used, and I wish I could remember it verbatim, but it was something like, it's noble weight. Or heft. It was something really weird like that.
Yeah.
Like,
so anyway, he explains he has this super powerful laser that can cut through stuff. And then
put a spot on the moon.
Another great Bond line Goldfinger's gonna leave the room and have Bond cut in half by this laser, and Bond says, "Do you expect me to talk?" And he says, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die," which is that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
In things that came after this.
It was pretty good.
One. So then Bond convinces him that he knows everything about Grand Slam and that he needs to be kept alive. So they do, and they knock him out.
Yeah.
And then when he wakes up, he sees Pussy galore.
There we go.
There we go.
At this point, it's implied, by the way, that he is working with the Chinese.
Koreans. Oh, well, okay, yeah. So he's working with
the Red Chinese.
The Mr. Ling character.
Yeah. They'll mention the Red Chinese later, but yeah.
But then all of Goldfinger's employees are Koreans.
Yeah, they don't really explain that, as you said early on, but I think it's implied by the fact he's working with the Chinese.
Yeah.
I think that was the implication.
Right. Well, so in the book, it's pretty explicitly explained as Koreans because they describe Oddjob's martial arts training as Korean karate, which is what we nowadays call Taekwondo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Another little fun tidbit I wanted to point out from way earlier in the film. The guards guarding the drug bananas were carrying Japanese officer Nambus for whatever reason.
Sure.
Yes.
The props they could get their hands on, I guess.
Well, it's interesting because like you see the same props used over and over and over again, the German machine guns and whatnot. And it's just really interesting that this like tropical group would be using Japanese stuff. But we did see a lot of Japanese stuff in Dr. No too, just
right.
So people know.
Yeah, I got it.
Back on topic.
Pussy galore, pilot of Goldfinger's private jet.
Yes. Which is a beautiful private jet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's, there's a kind of off in her own head co-pilot for whatever reason.
Yeah.
The only non-blonde pilot. No, the Asian girl was the,
oh yeah, there's a co-pilot, huh?
There was a co-pilot.
There was a co-pilot scene, yeah.
Who just seemed drunken out of her mind.
Sure.
She was just like kind of there, going along. And I just want to point out that all of the pilots in this movie are blonde, except that one.
Right.
Well, I guess she's a co-pilot.
Sure.
You know. And so Bond, they were kind enough to bring Bond's suitcase. And I love that he asks, did my luggage survive? As if that was even an option.
Right. Again, the politeness in this movie. They brought his suitcase with all the changes of clothes and stuff, shaving kit and whatnot, along with him because they knew he was going to want to change. This is the first scene that Bond orders a martini shaken, not stirred.
Yes, he actually orders one.
Right, for the first time.
3 films in, and he finally says it. We'll see. We'll see how often that actually happens. It might not happen.
Right, we're gonna have to count it. We're gonna have to make a tally. We've got one.
We've got
it's the only martini he drinks in this film.
I think it's the only thing he drinks. No,
he drinks
mint julep.
Yeah, something like that.
Makes sense. They're in Kentucky.
Right.
A bitter or a sour mint julep, tart. They use the phrase tart mint julep. Anyway, let's talk about his changing scene.
Okay.
One-way mirror.
Not at first. The first one is through the door.
Yeah, right? Just straight through the clock.
So Bond goes into the bathroom on the plane, and there's a clock on the door, and the Asian woman, flight attendant, is shown looking through a spy hole, and Bond knows it's there, so he covers it up by hanging his suit on the door. And then she switches to this other spy hole in the one-way mirror in the medicine cabinet type thing or something.
Well, that was the thing I was confused about, is I thought they were implying 2 other ways to look in. This other spy hole and the medicine cabinet.
No, I think the spy hole went through them.
Yeah.
So he covers that up somehow so that he could take out the little mini tracking device.
Yes, that wasn't already in his shoe.
Right. Because he had to turn it on and then slide it into his shoe.
Why?
Listen, man.
Why couldn't it just be, click your heels together 3 times and, no place like home?
Wish you were home.
Yeah.
I know. I've already had that scene that was in From Russia with Love. Anyway. So that happens. And then, so he sees that he's opening the stuff, so he sees that the, what's it called? The peak hole is there.
Yeah.
So then he starts lathering himself up to shave, and he sprays shaving cream over where the hole is in the mirror. That's how
he covers it up.
So she can't see it. Anyway, yeah. Then they arrive in... You're shown a scene where the FBI, or the CIA, picks up his
tracking signal
coming into Baltimore, and then he doesn't really do anything in Baltimore. They just leave and go to Kentucky, I guess.
They leave and go to Tennessee, and then somehow get to Kentucky.
They end up in Kentucky at GoldFinger's stud farm.
That you just see this massive sign that says stud.
Right. When Bond drives by it. Because you're supposed to know that Bond is a stud, as if you couldn't tell from his interactions with women for the last 2.5 films.
Can we talk about 2 more things about his plane? One, that the flight attendant needs Bond's help to get out of the plane. I find that funny.
She has him put the stairs down because she can't do it.
And then secondly, the stairs are carpeted, which kind of makes sense, but also the carpeting was dirty.
And not well attached.
No, not well attached.
Pretty terrible job by the props department.
Well, it kind of makes sense that on a plane like that, you would want carpeted stairs so that you don't slip. Maybe? This is
not relevant.
It's before non-stick slip surfaces.
It's not important.
It's critical.
It's not important at all. Bond is hitting on Pussy Galore literally the whole time.
Yes, and she has her shields up because she's on duty.
Right.
She doesn't drink because she's on duty.
Right.
She has a gun because she's on duty.
On duty. Yeah. So, Bond is being driven to Kentucky. You do see this side scene with Pussy Galore where all these blonde female pilots land their planes simultaneously, and then
Pussy Galore's flying circus.
Right. It's all these pilots that she trained because she's the best pilot ever.
Yes, with these big, stars embroidered on their chest, but only on one side.
Right. That's just her logo, I guess.
It was on the co-pilot, too. I noticed that, and I thought it was weird, but I think it might be on the opposite side, on the co-pilot.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Then they put Bond in this jail cell.
Really nice jail cell.
Underground.
It has this great sunroof that allows rain to pour in.
Yep.
Like, I was wondering that. Like,
it's definitely a vertical window.
And I was thinking,
would clearly allow rain to get in.
I was thinking to myself, that's kind of cool. Great way to torture someone. Just let the rain come in.
Right. Chinese water torture.
Well, but then his bed is right underneath it.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, you guys are really douches.
So, Bond tricks the guard who's outside the cell into opening the cell.
Yeah, people don't look up.
Yeah. Because he's got himself wedged in above the door and drops on the guy. Gets the drop on the guy.
Oh. Now, see, at this point, there's like a long, protracted scene of Bond winking at the guard.
Yeah, he walks back and forth and, like, waves at him and winks at him at the window. And then...
Yeah. I just figured Bond was seducing him.
Well, we've talked about Bond and the evidence for him being bisexual.
It happens.
Yeah.
Anything for the job.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that happens. So he starts sneaking around the farm, and while this is happening, you're shown a scene of Goldfinger having contacted like various regional representatives of
mob.
Yeah, a mob. You don't know which mob, but
I think they were individual mobs.
I thought it was. They keep calling each other by their like regional things.
Yeah, we don't work with Chicago.
But that's what I mean. So like if they were different mobs, they would call each other by like which mob they were. So they would say like we don't work like if they were Irish, they would say we don't work with the Italians, and the Italians would say we don't work with the Irish or whatever. But it's just like Chicago, West Coast, East Coast, like.
But remember, the Bond films are progressive. So, I really do think, as much of a joke as that was, I do actually think that they were trying to get across that they were different mobs throughout the country that were not associated with each other, and they're working with each other because of Goldfinger, and they just didn't want to like name real names or come up with fake names that may end up being real or whatever. So they just say the Chicago mob, the West mob, the East mob.
I guess. I mean, it's mostly implied that they're not working together.
Yes.
But that they're all individually working with Goldfinger, and they are all there and didn't know anybody else was going to be there.
Yep. They were smuggling things across the border for $1 million a piece.
Right. And Goldfinger starts pressing buttons and stuff, and you get some of the corniest lines of all time in that entire scene when like somebody says like, "Hey man, what's with that trick pool table?" or something, and you're
that's almost exactly it.
Really, like,
why is this place turning into a merry-go-round?
Right, and then like the floor starts
being fenced in.
Yeah, all
which I don't blame them.
It's pretty terrible dialogue in that whole scene, but so Goldfinger starts explaining this master plan of he wants to break into Fort Knox.
Yep. Steal the gold.
And yeah.
That's implied.
It's implied. He never says it because that's not the plan, but we'll get there.
We will get there. But at this point, I'm thinking like, okay. He's going to get all these mobsters together. It's going to be like a big force. That's how they're going to move all the gold.
Right. So Bond is sneaking around underneath this room because the whole thing is hollow.
Yeah. With, by the way, another Walther. He's carrying a Walther P-38.
That's what he takes from the guard.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And it then is captured by Pussy Galore.
Yes, who does a fantastic thing of just pulling him off by his
legs.
And makes him give the gun back to the guard he stole it from.
Yep.
I just find that funny.
Yeah. Then she, one of the mobsters says, this is important. While Bond is underneath the thing, he is like writing a note to the CIA.
Yes.
About what Goldfinger's master plan is.
007 to CIA.
Yeah, to CIA. Then writes what Goldfinger's master plan is. So that happens before he gets captured by Pussy Galore. Then Pussy Galore captures him. And then one of the other mobsters says, like, I don't want any part of this robbing Fort Knox thing. Give me my $1 million. I'm out.
Yeah. I want to bring up one thing that we didn't mention back at the laser cutting scene. Bond says, "You can kill me, but 008 will take my place." I don't know. Just the first time we're hearing about other 00s.
Yeah, it is the first mention of other 00s.
Well, they mentioned that there are other 00s, but it's not implied, like, are there really? You know, like, I don't know how to describe it. But yeah, this is the first time, like, we get another 00 by name.
Well, designation.
0018.
Yeah. Anyway, so you're shown the one mobster who said, "I'm out, give me my money," loading gold bars into a car, and
beautiful 1964 Lincoln Continental,
right,
all black with a navy interior for whatever the hell reason.
Because it was the 60s, man.
It should have been white.
And then Goldfinger pretty conspicuously says, "Odd Job will be your chauffeur. He's an excellent chauffeur." And at that point, I'm sitting there like, yeah, so this guy's gonna die. Odd Job is going to kill him.
Yeah, and I'm like, huh.
And Patrick is sitting there saying, why is he just letting that guy go?
Yeah.
Because while that's happening, he talks about, earlier in the scene when he's explaining his master plan, he talks about, we're going to use this like nerve gas to knock everybody out, and then they use the nerve gas on all the mobsters that are in the room.
And so I was like, okay, why do these guys die and this other guy get to live? Shouldn't it be the other way around?
Right. But then in the very next scene, you're shown Odd Job peeling off on the side road and then turn around and shoots the mobster in the backseat.
Yep. And then the most horrific scene in all of cinema takes place.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before that happens, Pussy Galore brings Bond. So there's a scene with Goldfinger, the mobster, Odd Job, Pussy Galore, and Bond all standing around. And Bond slips the tracking device with the note into the pocket of
the mobster. Yeah. And so you're thinking, like, okay, they're going to dump the body and the CIA is going to find it. But instead, Odd Job drives it to a wrecking yard. And there's gratuitous torture porn, okay? That's all it is.
They crush
this beautiful
the Lincoln.
Oh.
It's the most disturbing part of the movie for Patrick.
It goes on for like 2 minutes.
All they show is a car being crushed.
Well, I mean, theoretically, with a body
There's no blood.
But it was perfect. Why? It was taken from this world too soon. Ugh. Oh, Lincoln Continentals, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it gets crushed.
When you're shown Felix and the other CIA agent chasing Odd Job, but they never actually catch up to him, and then...
But they're cracking wise.
Yeah, but then the thing goes dead.
Yeah, because it's getting crushed. But they do crack wise about, like, where's he going? I don't know. Probably following some drink or some dame.
Yeah.
He knowing the Bond or
a drink or a dame. Yeah, he does say that. So, and he's like, well, the thing went dead. Maybe he turned it off. Let's go back to the farm.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The only thing we can do is go back to the farm.
Right. So then...
The block gets loaded into a Ford...
I don't know what it was.
It was a Ford.
I was going to ask you, but I forgot.
The equivalent of an El Camino is a Ranchero.
Yeah, but the Ranchero's like... The Ranchero's a little bigger than that.
No, that was a Ranchero.
Was it?
Yeah. The problem is that Rancheros, like, look so dramatically different, and they look like they could be at the same time. Like, earlier and later Rancheros were bigger than that. But that era Ranchero was based off the Falcon, I think. But, hey, V8 Falcon, man. Only way to go.
Yeah.
So, they load up the Lincoln in the back of a Falcon. At least they were keeping it in the Ford family. And they haul it back.
Yeah, Odd Job brings it back to the stud farm.
Yeah, which actually makes sense because he has to get the gold out.
Right. Which,
at that point, why the hell wasn't the gold fake?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know, man.
I mean,
Goldfinger's taking the gold out. And then, like, one of his henchmen walks up and says, "There's two guys with binoculars. It's the two CIA agents." Yep. They say, "Let's like show them that Bond is happy or whatever. So he tells Pussy Galore to go put on something more.
I think he says more comfortable.
He doesn't say comfortable. I was specifically listening for that. He doesn't say comfortable, but he does say more. I don't know. It's implied. It's implied something more revealing.
Yeah.
And then they go get Bond, and you're showing Bond with there's 11 guards in the cell with him now. So they bring him out, and
mind you, his shave is still perfect.
Yeah,
his shave is a perfect suit,
and his suit is still immaculate. That 3-piece gray suit looks so good. They bring him out. They give him a tart mint julep.
Yeah, because that's the thing,
right? And then Pussy Galore comes out, and she's, just cleavage.
Yes.
And Felix says something to the effect of, yep, that's the James I know. And you're showing them walking, and they go into a hay barn, and then, for Patrick.
Then the second most awkward scene in the film happens.
Patrick kept wanting the line, roll in the hay to come up, and it never does.
Why not? It's such a great opportunity.
Because young Frankenstein already used it.
I don't care.
Would you care for a roll in the hay? Wee!
I don't care. I wanted Bond to say something like, oh, what were you doing? Just having a roll in the hay, or something like that.
Yeah.
Why is your hair messed up, or whatever?
He tries to seduce Pussy Galore. She's not having it, so she kung fu's him,
and both of their hair stays
and
perfect.
then he kung fu's her, and they're rolling around in hay, mind you. Hay sticks to everything. If you've ever been anywhere near it, neither of their hair gets one straw in it. Nothing clings to their clothes. It's unbelievable. Then they're just they keep fighting each other. They keep throwing each other around in the hay, and then Bond rapes her.
Yep.
It's pretty obvious.
Now, it's it would be less uncomfortable if that fight scene had continued on slightly longer and it becomes more playful. But it doesn't.
It doesn't. He's just overpowers her, kisses her, and then she goes...
She gives up.
And then she goes, might as well make this happen.
Yeah, she just gives up.
Just gives up. Okay, so then you're shown pretty much the next scene is just them going right into Operation Grand Slam, right? It's just the...
Yeah, something happens to Bond. I can't remember exactly how he gets knocked out, but as is tradition in these James Bond films, James Bond going to sleep is a transition. And he wakes up in an entirely different suit, a nice tux at this point, on their way to Grand Slam, and there's the Pussy Galore...
Flying circus.
Pussy Galore's flying circus. Flying over Fort Knox, killing all the soldiers.
Right.
Because it's established at this point, the nerve gas doesn't put people to sleep, it kills them.
It kills people, yeah. Bond does say that.
Yeah.
Oh, when we hold on. There's a couple of more details we have to back up on. So Bond has this conversation while they're waiting for Pussy Galore to slip into something a little bit more comfortable. He's talking with Goldfinger, and Goldfinger, like all good Bond villains, tells him the plan. They established the gas. In that scene, they established that the gas is lethal, not just a knockout thing or whatever. They also established that they're not going to steal the gold from Fort Knox. They're going to detonate a radioactive device inside it to make all the gold radioactive, which is where we get the 58 years from.
Yeah.
Even though the description says hundreds of years, Goldfinger explicitly says 58 years. And that because of this, the gold that he owns worldwide will be worth 10 times more than whatever it's currently worth at the time. So then you're shown the gas being dropped and all these soldiers in and around Fort Knox dropping onto the ground, presumably dead.
Not only that, but civilians too.
And civilians too, yeah.
Which is weird. People cleaning tanks.
Right.
All this stuff.
Then Goldfinger's crew moves in. They blow up the gate to the depository. They use their super powerful metal cutting laser from earlier in the film to cut a door down.
Some sort of access door.
Drag it away. They open the vault. They put Bond. They handcuff Bond to the dirty bomb. and put him in the vault.
Why?
To kill him with radiation.
Why?
Doesn't matter.
A bullet would be fine.
Doesn't matter.
Nerf gas would be fine.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's not a Bond villain plan if it's not overly complicated.
He has to die in a suit.
Yeah. Then it's at this point that all the... Oh, you're shown a gratuitous shot of Felix Leiter's face, presumably dead, in the car right outside the depository. It's at this point that Felix wakes up and everybody around Fort Knox starts waking up.
And I was kind of surprised by that.
Right. You're supposed to be.
Yeah, I was legitimately surprised. When we saw all these soldiers dropping dead, I'm like, wow, Bond really went there. They're just going to kill thousands of people.
Right.
And just, how did they write that off?
Right.
Whoops.
So, now these soldiers start getting up and start moving in on the depository. And Goldfinger hears this, hears the shooting start happening, and locks Oddjob and the other commander guy.
Yeah, the guy that was, in charge of the bomb.
Right. Into the vault with Bond.
Yeah.
So that they are presumably going to die too. The one guy freaks out and starts trying to shut the bomb off, and Oddjob throws him off the highest level of this thing, and he falls down and dies. Happens to be close to Bond, and Bond gets the key out of his pocket and unhandcuffs himself from the
Just in the nick of time to make Oddjob miss.
Right. Yeah, so Oddjob throws his hat at Bond, because that's how Oddjob kills people, is throwing his hat at them. And,
don't
he
you?
misses. Yeah, obviously. He misses, because Bond was able to unhandcuff himself and duck.
He unlocked the power of ducking.
Correct. So you're shown, this fighting going on outside at the same time as the fighting going on inside. The fighting going on inside obviously being hand-to-hand combat between Oddjob and Bond. And this is one of the things that bothers me most about this movie. It's because it's established so much that Oddjob is just this, incredibly strong, well-trained martial artist. And he spends, a good 3-4 minutes just tossing Bond around.
Yeah.
But then Bond, just keeps coming. And it's literally, early in the movie, it takes Oddjob one karate chop to knock Bond out for, presumably a long time.
And he could throw his hat and cut clean through stone.
Right. And Bond just, takes this beating like it's really nothing.
Yeah.
Starts picking up, different instruments to hit Oddjob with. And, again, those don't do any damage to Oddjob. Clearly.
Yeah.
It's pretty much shown that no matter what Bond does, he can't do anything physically to Oddjob.
He keeps throwing blocks of gold at his chest, and they just
bounces off. So then Bond gets the hat somehow.
Yeah. Well, it was established that the hat missed and scuttled to the floor.
Right.
Yeah.
Bond gets thrown near the hat, gets up, gets the hat, throws it at Oddjob.
Misses.
And misses. And then Oddjob turns around. It gets stuck in between these two metal bars. And Oddjob turns around and goes to get the hat, and then Bond lunges for this electrical wiring that had been cut earlier by Oddjob's throw, and he missed, and puts it against the metal thing, and Oddjob gets electrocuted.
And that's the death
and
of
dies.
One Oddjob. But I want to point out something at this point that I should have probably mentioned earlier. All of Goldfinger's men, somehow he acquired them from Vault-Tec. Okay. They're all wearing blue and yellow jumpsuits from the Fallout series.
I know. Guess which one came first, Patrick?
Definitely not Fallout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, anyway, they're knock-off Vault Dwellers.
No, they're not. The only Vault Dweller in this movie is Bond. Dwells in the vault. Yeah. We didn't have a Jamaican McThird wheel in this movie.
No, the closest we had to it would either possibly be the Asian flight attendant woman. Or maybe Goldfinger?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sort of. Like, Goldfinger is clearly, like, also romantically interested in Pussy Galore. They established that kind of a lot. But then, like, she's not having any of it.
I don't know. There was no Jamaican McThirdwheel.
Yeah, there wasn't really a Jamaican McThirdwheel.
And there was no discount anyone.
Yeah.
Everyone looked like themselves.
Yeah.
I couldn't pick out anything to comment on.
That's pretty true.
We then also have this bomb counting down, ticking down.
Oh, yeah, so this bomb is ticking down, and Bond's trying to break it open.
Using gold bars. It works.
As, like, a hammer and chisel.
Yeah.
The vault gets opened by the...
Vault people. The vault, by Vault Tech.
By Vault Tech, yeah. And you're shown, like, you know, the gunfight moves into the vault, and then people are coming in, and Bond's, like, Bond finally gets the bomb open. He's, like, messing around with wires or something. Doesn't know how to do it. Somebody else stops the bomb.
Yeah, and that totally caught me off guard.
Right, it was pretty cool, which was kind of cool, right? You expect, like, Bond's gonna pull the plug on it.
Last second.
Yeah, but then it's somebody else. Oh, and
it's subverted expectations.
Right, you're shown, like, you keep being shown the clock ticking down, ticking down. So the plug gets pulled on the bomb, and it stops on what time? 007.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
I noticed that it was 7. But...
Stops on 0 minutes and 07 seconds. Yeah.
Good show.
Right. So then the next scene is Bond talking to Felix saying, like, the president wants to personally thank you. He's getting on a plane to go to the White House. He gets on the plane. Turns out Goldfinger has hijacked the plane.
Yep.
And Pussy Galore is flying it. Goldfinger tries to shoot Bond with his, like, big handgun.
Yeah, he has a gold-plated revolver.
Right.
Which they established earlier. You won't shoot me with that. That's a .45 caliber Smith & Wesson. It'll go straight through me, straight through the skin of this aircraft, and we'll both be sucked out into outer space.
Yeah, he does say outer space, which is hilarious.
Oh.
So then, of course, the gun goes off. Literally Chekhov's gun. He shoots out a window, and Bond is like hangs onto something, and Goldfinger gets sucked out through this tiny window.
Yep, because, I mean, they're in outer space.
Right.
That's how these things work.
And then the plane is shown to be crashing.
For whatever reason.
Pussy Galore's trying to pull it up, but she can't. Bond gets in the cockpit with her trying to pull up on the co-pilot stick, can't.
Then we see the radar.
And a dot going down and a dot leaving it, presumably.
Yep. A boat on which they will be found having sex.
Because that's how every Bond movie ends.
Exactly, why not? But
so then you're shown Felix in a helicopter and they're searching for him. Like, it's pretty obvious that, like, okay, so, like, they ejected Bond and Pussy Galore got out. Felix is looking for them, and then you see Pussy Galore and she's, like, waving her jacket or something at them to be seen, and Bond says, don't do that, now is not the time to be rescued, and then pulls the parachute over them, and they presumably have sex, because that's the way every Bond movie ends.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can't end on a boat, at least end...
We've lost our boat motif for endings, but
there wasn't even a boat nearby.
Right. We've still got the Bond having sex at the end motif.
But they were very close to the water.
Is this the first Bond film that the words "the end" were not on that last screen? It cuts back to the gold-painted lady kind of thing from the intro credits and says "the end" and scrolls the credits up.
That is weird. Huh. Well, that was a 24 karat night.
Wow.
This was indeed our longest podcast about anything, frankly. And our longest about Bond in general. But it does make sense because this particular Bond does set the stage for so many tropes that are used by everything later.
And the Bond movies are going to start getting longer and longer and longer too, so...
Alrighty.
We're either going to have to cut our things down, or the listeners are going to have to strap in for some pretty long podcasts.
Well, you know, it's funny, dear listener, you can stop listening at this point if you don't want to hear about podcast news. But I've been getting feedback recently on this podcast, which is fascinating that I'm getting feedback from people I don't know.
Sure.
Mostly girlfriends of people I know. They know who they are, who's listening. And I've been getting the complaint that our film reviews should be 3 to 4 minutes.
That's not enough time to review a film.
And I'm like, we kind of do that. We kind of, at the beginning, we do the watch, don't watch, and give a description, you know? If that's what you're here for, you can get it, and that you're good. I wanted this to be, basically let people in on a window of our conversations.
Right.
And what's funny is other people have said they like that.
Yeah.
They like to be able to put this on and just kind of experience a movie through us, particularly movies they'd rather not watch, like the shark movies I've been watching with Matt.
Right, because those are terrible.
Oh, man. Man. No.
They're so bad.
I watched Shark Attack 4.
Oh, why? Why are there 4 of those?
Oh, no. Get this, Chris. There is a movie out there called Two-Headed Shark Attack. Each sequel, they add a head to the shark, right?
Sure.
So 3-headed shark attack, 4-headed shark attack, 5-headed shark attack, 6-headed shark attack, 7-headed shark attack. 7-headed shark attack. So, also, one thing I wanted to bring up, we're back onto GoldFinger conversation here. GoldFinger, the intro song. Probably one of the catchiest Bond theme songs ever.
Sure.
Until the recent Craig films put out some really good stuff, too. I want to point out that it'll forever make me think of Frasier. Frasier and Niles were once trying to bond with their father, and they did this by playing a piano ballad of Goldfinger, and they all sing along to it. Which is the only way, by the way, I've ever heard this theme song until tonight. So
now you've heard the original.
My entire context for the song is Kelsey Grammer singing Goldfinger to the piano tune.
Well, I'm glad I could introduce you to a better version.
Kelsey Grammer has some pipes, man.
Yeah, did Kelsey Grammer have to remove his corset and almost pass out from holding the last note?
No, and actually you were mentioning something about that. So why don't you tell that
story?
Yeah,
okay, so the woman who sings it, can't remember her name, apparently told a story that, when she went into the recording studio to record the theme for Goldfinger, she couldn't breathe well enough to sing it. It's pretty high pitched.
Yeah.
So she had to remove her corset, brassiere, whatever tight undergarment she was wearing on her bodice. And then, so she was in the recording studio and the credits were rolling so that she could watch it and try to time the song. But somebody messed up somewhere. So the last note she has to hold forever. And she's been recorded multiple times saying that she almost passed out from doing that. Which is funny because the next Bond film we're going to watch, Thunderball, Tom Jones sings the intro song to that, or the theme song to that, and he said the exact same thing.
He too had to remove his corset?
Yeah, and also that he almost passed out from singing the last note because he had to hold it for so long. So somebody in the credits department of the Bond films is rolling the credits too slow.
Apparently. And I actually would agree with that. In general. Well, until next time, dear listener, see you out there.